No, appreciate everybody coming out. Really, really cool to be here 1 year later, getting to stand up on this podium for the first time last year as a head coach, talking a lot about the things we had hoped to accomplish, talking a lot about, the early stages of trying to build something special alongside Kwesi and the rest of our, team and staff, and kind of looking back, reflecting on that, and hoping to accomplish certain things in year one. There's so much to be really, really proud of. Really, really proud of our team, the way we battled throughout the year, really relied on the culture we built up very quickly within our organization and within the walls of our building that we feel so strongly about. Obviously didn't end the way that any of us hoped and wanted, but there's 31 other teams that feel like they came up short, and now we're in the process of building our team for 2023. Coming back to Indianapolis is always really fun for me, just having been here as a player and then gone through the process as different levels of position coaching, getting to connect with players each and every year and then watching them progress through our league, whether it be in a position coach, coordinator, or most recently as a head coach, and just knowing the opportunity we have to improve our football team, and the opportunity we have to continue our growth as an organization right alongside Kwesi. And with that, just him and I were talking a little bit last night just about how far we've come, but yet, as I told him, all of my hopes of getting a chance to work alongside him were not only confirmed this year, but I feel better than I ever have about our chances moving forward, and it's because I get to work alongside him as our general manager every day. I'd be, I absolutely have to thank our ownership and everything that they do within our building, and I know how great people feel about coming to work every day. And it's not just the culture; it's the support we get from the Wilf family, and something that we're very, very fortunate to have. So with that, Combine 2023, I'll open it up to you guys.
So what was the process with getting Brian Flores in? What did you like about him? How does he fit into the culture? How's all that going to work for you? How excited are you?
He was a name I had kind of identified very quickly. Previous relationship going back a long time to when I had gone through this process and eventually became a rookie. He was just getting going himself, and we've kept in touch through the years. I've always admired just who he is, the coach he's been, how his guys play. You turn on the tape and you see how hard his defenses have played over the years, the problems they've been when I've been on staffs preparing to play against his group. Then I got a chance to get into the process of interviewing Brian. We spent a long time in Eagan together. He came in, and just the fit amongst him and Kwesi and myself, and how we see him fitting in for us from his leadership to his personnel background, to how he sees defense and how he sees using personnel to create something special that as a lot of times we do on offense, the ink on the playbook, never should be dry, because we're always trying to adapt. We're always trying to change, and then sticking true to our football philosophies. And that was a big thing for me, was just finding whoever I was going to, have a chance to offer the job to. I wanted it to be someone, when I talk to our team about football philosophy, I want it to, come to life before our very eyes. Offense, defense, and special teams, and could not, speak to highly enough about how Brian was in the interview process, but also how it's been since, and just how excited I am about that process of watching him build up something really special on that side of the ball.
Coach, how would you say, your relationship with Justin Jefferson has grown, from the beginning of last year to where it is now?
Yeah, it started really on a FaceTime call right after my opening press conference, and we've come a long way since then. One of my favorite players I've ever coached. I've told him that. The unbelievable talent, what he means to our league, how he carries himself, how he works every day. But what I was really impressed with Justin with this year was the leadership, the next step of understanding, hey, he believes he's the best receiver in football. I happen to agree with him. And, a lot goes with that. And not only just schematically how people play against you, but the responsibility he has as a role model, and he takes it very seriously how much people and young kids look up to him. And I just watch the way he carries himself every single day and week. And to say I'm excited about coaching Justin for a really long time is an understatement. And as crazy as this sounds, leading the league in yards and and receptions, I really think, him and I have just scratched the surface of where we want to go as an offense, and particularly with him as, our premier receiver.
Him and Cooper Kupp, what would you say, to the young wide receivers that are here at the Combine? What advice would you give to them to get to that level?
Yeah, I would stress the importance of understanding how much work it's going to actually take. And everybody that's invited here is physically gifted, whether, whatever their elite traits are that help them be a dynamic player in college football, whether it's, speed, the ability to, make contested catches, the ability to move in the movement area and change direction, those things. Whatever that is, that's great. But to be a complete NFL receiver, there's going to be total and complete buy-in to your preparation, to learning, how to, get open and catch the ball in its purest form. But a lot goes into that at this level. And then the growth, week in and week out, when you become one of those premier players, just how much, some of the guys in this room, some of the great defensive coaches in our league are trying to take away what you do best, and how you have to be so dialed in on your technique, fundamentals, your attention to detail, to ultimately go win week in and week out. And Justin just had an incredible year. And what I liked about it the most is just the impactful plays and critical moments he made for our team, among a lot of our players that I just, very thankful for him in year one, and really looking forward to seeing him grow both as a leader and his continued dominance at the receiver position.
Kevin, going back to Flo, how far off do you guys think you are kind of personnel-wise with what he wants to do schematically, and what are the priorities in that transition in getting his system in there?
Yeah, I think the priorities first and foremost is letting him have time to evaluate our roster, both our young players and some of our veteran players, and see how pieces may fit. And then as we use the process of free agency and the draft to really take a look at how we evolve and help fit to what we want to do. But I think one of the things that was really great about Flo in the interview process is he's done it a lot of different ways and can be really multiple. And I think it's one of the things, I think we're both kind of aggressive in nature of how we want to coach, our guys, and how we want to deploy our personnel. But at the end of the day, we're also extremely versatile. However you have to play the game. I think that goes back to some of, I know my roots early on as a player, and obviously where he coached for a long time, but the element of, week in and week out, what it takes to win football games, and sometimes how you have to reinvent yourself week in and week out, sometimes how you have to, mold and adapt how you play while still staying true to your football philosophy at its core. And it's not always easy to do, but he's demonstrated he's been very successful doing it time and time again, and really looking forward to see him go to work with our group.
The NFLPA just released results of a survey of players on all 32 teams,
Yeah.
talking to them about staff and facilities, nutrition, team travel. Vikings came in number one. What does that mean to you? And just can you talk about the place of player wellness in the culture you're trying to build?
It's a huge priority for us, Tom. It really is. And one of the things that I look back on a year ago, and I think about, using words like connecting with our players and the collaboration that goes into what, pro football should be at this level. It goes so much beyond those words, and people kind of chuckle sometimes. You use some of these cliche-like words. Well, they're not cliche when you go to work every day and try to join with a great group of people, great support staff at every level of our organization. And it's not a cliche when people make that their mission statement, to provide the premier place to go to work and improve both personally and collectively as a team in our league means a lot to us. And I think I mentioned it earlier, but I don't think you can say all that without thanking our ownership, our beautiful facility, both our training facility, our home stadium, one of, in my opinion, the best home atmospheres in our league. And then it's the people. Then it's, you talk a lot about culture. Culture is people, and it's something we strive to work on every single day. And I think our players feel that, whether it is the different elements that go into that survey, and I'm not particularly clear on a lot of the details of it. I can just say I'm not surprised, and thankful for our players and their communication with us to help make that happen. And like I said, I'd like to think we got we're only going up from here. So hopefully this is something you're asking me about every year at the Combine moving forward.
What about wide receivers and evaluating them? How much do you see a push in trying to find running backs who can play wide receiver, tight ends who can play wide receiver? You see a few guys. I know it's not easy to find them, but do you see that guys with an eye looking for those guys? More players.
I think it's skill sets. It's that receiver who is great with the ball in their hands. Hey, they got punt return in their background. Well, can we find different ways via the screen, via, giving them handoffs? How are we going to continuously apply pressure using our personnel to attack people? And I think you're seeing it, the impact that running backs can have on the pass game, the impact that receivers have via, touching the ball behind the line of scrimmage in some capacity and then turning it into an explosive, playing the quarterback position is really hard. So anytime you can, have a breather type down where you're either handing off the football, flipping the football to somebody, throwing a screen out to the perimeter, and that turns into explosive yardage, that makes everybody's job a lot easier. So we're always, I would never want to speak for anyone else, any other coaches, but we're always looking for diverse skill sets that can allow you to just get creative with how you attack people over the course of a full season.
Kevin, this is not a question about your team, but just when it comes to coaching quarterbacks, particularly young quarterbacks, it's such a unique job. How unique is the job of actually coaching young quarterbacks, and is it any different than dealing with other units?
It's absolutely different. I think player development at every position is very, very important, but the quarterback position, both the understanding of where that player truly is at when you get a chance to start coaching him, and then ultimately what your plan is for that player moving forward. How are you going about, both the development in the classroom, on the field? How are you going to figure out some real live game reps, or how close can you simulate that? At myself as an offensive play caller, being the voice in a quarterback's head, you want to make sure that they get a lot of reps at that, never miss an opportunity to communicate, at a level that they can then come to expect. Moving forward. And then the hard evaluation process that they go through of understanding the only way that they're going to improve is through hard work and understanding that accountability factor to what their goals are. A lot of guys come here and say they want to start in the NFL day one. They want to, start every game, lead their team to the playoffs, win a Super Bowl. A lot goes into what it takes to do that, and the type of environment you can put around that young player is huge, especially early. And then what is it going to look like moving forward for that player is very, very important. And then the evaluation process of being coached hard, being able to take hard coaching, and then ultimately know that we're all out for the best outcome, which is hopefully a long-time starter in this league.
And makeup is critical, right?
Makeup's huge.
But how hard is it to evaluate that makeup, in this setting, right, or the pre-draft setting? Yeah,
I think that's where you rely a lot on, both your personnel departments and the relationships you have, but then the opportunities we do get to connect with the player and learn kind of how they've been coached, what their background is, what are their goals, what are their aspirations, what matters to them away from the game. What is their family situation like? Are they coming to you married with children, or are they single and trying to find somebody? There's a lot that goes into all that, and you can just start to really decide both with the physical traits that matter, and I think maybe those differ team to team, but once those core things are figured out by a team, you can really start there and work your way off of that.
As a first-time head coach and faced Giants twice this season, what have you seen from Brian Dable as he's kind of grown into that role?
Yeah, he, I've known Dabes for a long time, and it was just really, having attempted to go in and I don't want to say change, just create a culture that you hoped would help develop a winning formula that sustains over a long period of time. You saw him do that. You saw him. You just hear the way his players talk about him, both him and his whole entire coaching staff. And I just, I think the world of Dabes, and both as a football coach, X's and O's, but also, what really matters to him and how he goes about his business every single day. And it's not a surprise to me to see them do as well as they did this year. And I know Giants fans are probably really excited to have him as their head coach.
What did Malik Terry bring to your staff last year, and what do you think he gained coming from an offensive line background and now returning to it at Oregon, getting a defensive line background from you guys?
Yeah, when we hired him, I asked him, was there a college job that would potentially be enticing for him to leave the NFL, and it just so happens the one he now has is the one he mentioned to me. So when that opportunity came up, I was really excited for him. But Alik was huge for us. It was a really kind of a, not an experiment of any calculation. He interviewed really well, and high capacity coach with great character. But to have a former O-line player and coach in that D-line room to really provide that aspect of how teams are trying to protect. Hey, here's the slide side, here's the man side. Hey, here's how we can, maybe align in a pressure to activate some rules to the protection. I thought our coaching staff really benefited from having a leak. I would have loved to keep him as we move forward with, Coach Flores and some of his style, but really happy for him and thankful for all he did for us.
Last few questions.
Kevin, how do you evaluate the state of the secondary right now going into next year, especially with younger guys like Lewis and Andrew missing significant time in their rookie seasons?
Yeah, I think we're excited about some of those core young pieces that we were able to add to our team. Lewis is in a great spot right now. He is well ahead of his rehab process. I see him. It's unique to see a player every single day this time of year at the facility, but that's been Lou. Been in my office a bunch asking, hey, when do we get started? Have you set the schedule for OTAs? What's training camp going to be like? I said, just hold on, man. We're going to be just fine. But he's doing a great job. Really excited about Lewis and his mental growth through, how he handled the adversity of that injury, stayed connected with his teammates, and ultimately, hopefully, this is just going to be a small bump in a great road to Lou becoming the player he's going to become. But those young players combined with our veterans, it was a unique room in a lot of ways. I thought Durante did a great job with that group and dealing with some injuries, bringing in a guy like Duke Shelley, having the great veteran presence we did in Patrick Peterson and Harrison Smith to go along with the rest of our core group at safety, which we really, really like. I think we want to create a competitive environment in that room and ultimately look to add pieces that fit with how we want to play, and then ultimately let those guys compete and allow those best 11 to be on the field.
Last question.
I'll take it. What did you see, I guess, the way Dable evolved kind of his coaching game from that first game to then the playoff loss?
They did some things schematically, very similar to the first game, and then they did some things different, as did we. But it's such a well-coached football team in all three phases. The way they moved the football on offense, the way they, made, obviously Daniel Jones and the way he played was really impressive to see, and just his maturation throughout the year. I think Wink Martindale deserves a lot of credit. I've always had a ton of respect for him as a coach in our league and how he evolves over that month and decided to play us a little bit differently than maybe he did previously or the majority of the season against opponents. So, give those guys a lot of credit for, coming to Minnesota and winning that football game, and still something I think about often. So, I wish them all the best moving forward, but we're going to try to improve, and hopefully the result the next time we play those guys is different.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.